Hey now, people, what's going on? It's Wednesday, the 3rd of September already. Here for just a short bit, so I didn't move the lamp. For you old timers, you know that the reason why I moved the lamp is because when I sit up, okay, so that's not too bad. A lot of times it'll end up being like right on top of my head behind me like a fez, and it's like that distracts me when I'm making the video. So, just share a few thoughts this morning, and um, where to start? Okay, I'll start personal, because I could talk about a lot of stuff actually that's on my mind. But I'll start here, okay? Because Jim, I finally listened to a bit of this, just a bit, not all of it. Jim, your music is gorgeous, and in my opinion, I like to say no, I don't like to say that, but I say that to kind of clear the air that I'm just saying what I think, not trying to tell anybody what else to think. Lovely package. This is probably the format that I'll use again myself for the Otis Higgins project, which is about to wrap up. Jim, you're an example of someone who is like a maybe a home artist, bedroom artist, or like the with the advent of the internet and availability of resources, people making up home studios with their computers, doing wonderful work. It's wonderful. There's music that is being touted and pushed and publicized by people who are much less talented and interesting in comparison to what I do and folks like Zone of Tones. This is real good. And it's singular. You don't sound like somebody else. You don't sound like a copycat. You're very good. It's very good. Cheers. And thank you for sharing it with me, Jim. And best of luck to you with the ongoing health. Hope it stays good. Hope it gets better. Cheers. Along those lines, I had a wonderful visit with Douglas yesterday morning out at his house. I haven't met his wife yet. She's in Amsterdam, but he got a call from her while I was visiting, so I got to speak to her on the phone right quick. I haven't interacted this much with another friend in years, and I'm comfortable with the low interaction level with other people in my life. I like it like that. I don't have to have you in my face all the time. But Doug and I have so many things parallel in common when we talk. It's awesome. It's really fun. So we're not going to use a um, collage for the cover, which is fine with me. We're going to have Aaron do some shots of us. Let me see if I can white balance this. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. But we were talking about, putting together some plans for publicizing the project once we have something to sell, because we are two of Omaha's old school, and we're both referred to regularly as legends. And so we're feeling that, I'm speaking for Doug as well as me. We're feeling like we're not old and in the way, like a David Grisman, Jerry Garcia record. No, we're still relevant. And we are observing the way the world is falling apart. And we got something to say about it. So we're doing the photo shoot on Friday, and if we get good results, I'm going to go ahead and put together the cover and get this baby put together and have a new release by myself and Doug Wesselman, hopefully in about a month. Hopefully. As we were talking, see, I'm not a sports person, so when we were in his office yesterday at his house, he was kind of showing me, well, he's listening to my music now as he works, and he's discovered it, on his own. I gave him some of my CDs a few weeks back, about a month ago, and he's gradually discovered the power of the music as a soundtrack. He said, "This is what I'm working." He works every day. I admire people that can do that. I do it on and off, but my brother-in-law Floyd Norman, the Disney legend, he works every day. He draws every single day. Doug gets in front of his computer screen typewriter. Used to be a typewriter every day. I admire that. But while we were sitting there, he started showing me some stuff that was up on the computer where he's working on this. Um, um, there's a documentary about Ogdenetzel that's going to be premiered here in Omaha in a couple of weeks. I'll be going to it. I think it's September 18th. I'll mention it in more detail when it gets closer. But on the computer were some pictures, some stuff that he's putting together, and there's a picture of Otis playing basketball with Michael Jordan. It didn't. I'm not a sports person, so it really didn't hit me while I was there. It didn't hit me till later that fucking Otis 12 played basketball with Michael Jordan, and there's pictures of it. It was some kind of function, I think a charity function, but how many people got. That's something. I love stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, just stuff that you do that's like, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's happening. Um, Weeding out some more records, thankfully. I found a few more things that's like, this can go. It's like, I like it, but it's not in here. A couple things. A Teramasa Hino album, which is almost disco. That's going, and then there was a Marcus Roberts album I was listening to yesterday where jazz pianist, but the album is a bit sterile. It's like the grit that you got back in the old days, and I do know what I'm talking about, is not present in much of today's jazz that I've heard. It doesn't mean what it used to. It used to be the sound of life as opposed to being a style to emulate, which is mostly what I hear in modern jazz. And a lot of the modern um, singer songwriter stuff that I hear, because I still listen to all that stuff, and I can't remember the names, but people who were, it's like, oh, okay, that's real, and I can relate to it. Not that the other people who I don't relate to aren't being real, but there's a level of what I call grit that I recognize. Talked about that with Doug because we were saying we were blessed to be old, to have been born in a very historical period of time. We lived through the birth of rock and roll culture. It's it'll never be the same. Even you have 7-year-old kids who can play Eddie Van Halen riffs now, and it hardly even turns your head. Whereas going all the way back to the end of the 50s into the 60s, we were there when this stuff happened for the first time, and it feels like a privilege. It does, because so many things now are just they don't mean what they used to mean. With that said, before I show what's sitting here, not too much, a band from New York whose records I have not seen to buy, but I watched some stuff about them yesterday on the internet. Imperial Triumphant. You guys know that band? As it turns out, they wear masks. And so I finally decided to do a deep dive because I've been liking them for a while. And they were brought to my attention by Ron Anderson, who we almost collaborated once. And Ron was making videos for a while here. Um, we toyed with the idea of actually me going on tour with him. It didn't happen. But that's the first I heard of Imperial Triumphant. They're heavy, dark, um, intense, and really, really fantastic musicians. Come to find out that I don't actually know them, but just a shade from knowing these guys. Kenny Grahowski is the drummer who plays in Pact with Tim Motzer and Percy Jones and kind of part of the Leonardo Moon June camp. Those people I haven't met in person yet, but they're part of my extended family of musical friends that I'm in touch with pretty regular. Imperial Triumphant is really intense and really good. And if I saw their records, I won't order them, but that's the sort of thing I don't see in Omaha. I would buy the Imperial Triumphant records. They intrigue me as to how, and I'm actually intend to today or tomorrow, probably next time I remember, is there is a video by the guitarist where he talks about his favorite riffs, and I'm kind of like, I'd like to know more. It's like, where do those riffs and those strange chord voicings come from? They're badass musicians because they do a cover of Nefertiti, the Miles Davis track. I forget who wrote Nefertiti, but the Miles Davis album. And they do a very intriguing dark metal version of it, as well as Paranoid Android by Radiohead. Fantastic band. I don't have any records to show you, but that's an example of music that I'm absorbing, that I don't have the records to show you. I'm absorbing stuff all the time. All the time. So of the records that I was reviewing yesterday, this is a keeper. I haven't played it in a long time. This is badass. Hank Roberts Black Pastels. Bassist. Came to my attention through, I can't remember. I won't misspeak. But he's got players on here. He's got Robin Eubanks, Tim Byrne, Bill Frisell to great effect on this album, Mark Dresser and Joey Barron. This is not playing around. This is not sterile. This is not play acting. This is deep, creative output. This cat can play some bass, and he can also write, and so everything on the album is different. It's jazz based, but they go through all sorts of things. This is really good. I hadn't played in a long time. Hank Roberts. I have to look him up. I think he's played with Bill Bruford, possibly. That's a keeper. This one is probably going to go, but it's sitting down here because I'm going to play it one more time. And this is an example of, couldn't find any information about this guy, so I don't know how or why he made this record, but it's back in the 80s, I'm pretty sure. The New Age days. Mick Hallwin, Starting to Remember. I always wonder to myself, why do people put out records with such shitty covers? Who thought this was... There's no reference to the music whatsoever. This is 1989, yeah. And then Lifestyle was a small label that appears to the Moss Music Group. They were licensing some stuff from Europe and releasing it in America. So that's how I came across bothering with this in the first place, because there are some good records on this label. I have to play this again because it's almost throwaway, and yet I bet there's probably something good in this album, but what a lousy cover. So unrelated to the music on the record. I'll show another, but while I'm thinking about it, my neighbors directly across the street who have been there so long that the man, I'll say his name, Octavius, when I first moved here, he was a child living there with his grandmother being raised, and I ended up being his tutor for a while. He's a decent guy, but he's just very sloppy. And what I'm dealing with um, constantly from him is to me noise pollution, like this hound that they leave outside that just barks like "Don't forget me," and it's very annoying to me. And now he's got this mobile home in his driveway, and apparently he's got somebody living in it because there's a generator running. It's been running for 3 days now, and generators are noisy. And it's like it's just my luck to be a musician, even though I got tinnitus. I hear things well, and it's annoying as fuck. When I sit outside or in the living room with my door open, that churning, it's frustrating. But to me, it just it just is like a microcosm of just how, to me, unbalanced and just how shit the world is right now. These are dark times. They are. When I go to the store, homelessness is off the chain, people, and that is a true indication of where this nation is. Our leaders, who are only concerned about power and money and sex, have no intention of addressing homelessness in a real way whatsoever. And I actually asked Blake about it recently. I said, have you noticed all the homeless people? And he just said, it's ridiculous. It's sad. And we have those clowns in suits, both parties, ain't gonna do a damn thing for America. They're just getting paid and partying. I see where Congress had that meeting, and then they made the public statement about the Epstein files, and it's so obvious that rich people are being protected. Vile rich people who have done and continue to do heinous things because they can are being protected. They don't intend to see accountability. They really don't think that anyone's going to stop them, or their feet will never be held to the fire. And that's part of the overall picture that we're living in. And lies and deception don't make it better for us people down here on the ground. People with money can shut themselves away, from the streets and from the grit and the grime. But we poor folks, this is where we're living. We're left behind totally. Just some thoughts I'm sharing. So once again, thank goodness for a fairly centered focus on life, which is remember your blessings, enjoy what's before you. Remember I remember, I'll never forget when I was on the street, sleeping on the streets. So I'm very thankful. So the other record that's sitting out that got played, and I see here's another record sitting here wanting to be reviewed for possible sale or trade. I'll get to that in a second. I'll play it today. But this, amazing. Meshuggah Obzin. This was my introduction to the band as far as the first record of theirs I found in a store to buy. And that is a very striking cover. It is. I'm not censoring shit over here, okay? I see where people are censoring words and images, and it just seems absolutely insane to me when we have all these criminals and really fucked up people running things, making the common person, ooh, better not do that. These times are really fucked up, people. This album is amazing. Part of what got me to play this was watching a long interview with Gene Hoglan, the drummer. I have yet to see Gene Hoglan play live. I say yet because he's a phenomenal drummer. Him and Thomas Hawk. I'd love to see them play. I love drummers. But he was talking, there's a clip with him talking to Thomas Hawk about bleed on here. And the insane drum pattern on here, which is when they came up with them, this is the original. When the band Meshuggah came up with the riff and the pattern, they programmed it first. Thomas Hawk had to find out if he could play it, and he said it took him a long time. But now, as I was saying earlier about how the innocence of the times I grew up in, they were also talking about how there's a little Korean girl on YouTube who has mastered the Obzin drum pattern. She's only 7 or 8, something that crazy. You know what I mean? That's wild. Times. So the last thing I'll show before I leave is this is something related to a game. But I bought it because I saw that it was on Ghostly International, an interesting label. I did see the PlayStation other logos here related to video games, which I'm not interested in. Hokum soundtrack. And if I remember, they kind of sound like Tycho, the band Tycho. But also it was in the U section, and I could see that it was it's pretty. But I won't keep this just because it's pretty. So I'm going to be checking this out again. It may be going, it may not. So Friday is a Bandcamp Friday where artists on Bandcamp get the majority of the money from sales. I've been using it as a fundraiser, not using it, but it has been a lifesaver because that's actual income for me to work with and live on. So you folks who are watching me regularly and you newer folks, watchers and subscribers, on Friday I'm going to ask, and show you some of my CDs that I have for sale and ask for some support for the channel. I really need it. I mean, everybody needs income. Okay, so that's coming up this Friday. Other than that, always thinking about my family, hoping they're well in these dark, strange times. Very strange times. Okay, people, let's have a good 24 hours.